They got tired. Right. If anyone didn't see that, what the heck show was that today? The Today Show. That's why they did this, because they got tired. That's fine. Honestly, I think that most of us are ready to go. Anyways, and they have prescriptions, so they don't have to go through this. There's people there that have clonidine, right? You ain't waking up from clonidine. I guess you can try to Narcan people who took clonidine, and then wonder why they don't wake up. Um, right, they're not stupid either, right? They can look things up, but there's a lot of people there that have clonidine. Um, because they abuse it to get high, but they're not stupid. They know if they take enough of it that they'll pass on. Duh. Um, anyways, that's probably a lot easier to get than opium. And they steal it from people that have high blood pressure. Anyways, right, especially if you mix it with alcohol. Um, Unfortunately, I don't, so it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable for me. But it'll get the job done nonetheless. Obviously, this wasn't something I chose to do. They've got to do it like this, and then I guess they're going to tell themselves I committed suicide. I think that's what they've been doing with all these drug deaths, right? Is they tell themselves that everybody committed suicide. It's like part of their war, but then they also get like a dominance high from it that they force someone to commit suicide. Right, it doesn't have to make sense. Obviously, you're insane when you're just going around doing a Holocaust. You're obviously insane. But anyways, I gotta do something with this here. Read it or something. I don't have to know about it. I don't have to know about it, so I don't have to. I I can't be responsible for other people's children. Clearly, they all saw me online. They were in Washington D.C. dancing. Right? Obviously, um, you people murdered your own children. You demented your own children's minds because you're so insane. Um, Now he's doing things like that other guy sitting at a table, like they won a battle and every. And now I'm not sitting. You murdered me. What do you're like you're morbidly insane. It has nothing to do with the physical action of sitting down. Right. That's what they do. That's like that woman at CVS. If you can sit down, it's like, excuse me, what are you talking about? Right. I'm not an ape. It is that. It's definitely time to go. I don't want to scare people. If you're not in this area, like the phase out area, if you're not in New England, in New York, New Jersey, I'm not talking about you. Right. You can tell obviously if you're in Florida, it looks like they're not even wearing face masks. Right. So don't worry about that. You don't have to commit suicide. Right. But if you're in this area, obviously what else are you gonna do? What else are you going to do? I mean, it's really, really bad. It's really severely bad. They all have full blown dementia. And we're all supposed to stay in a house and sit down now. They'll be like humping their children and stuff so other people don't hump them if there's anyone talking. I'm telling you. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Okay? So, anyways, right, there's only so long that people in that shelter will be able to tolerate before they just take an overdose. Right. Um, The same thing with the rooming houses. If they're continuing to do like they did to me, and you're in one of those rooming houses, that's even a better place to commit suicide than the shelter because no one will bother you essentially for at least 24 hours. Right. Um, That's better than a brick and mortar prison. Where, right, how would you, first of all, you don't even have a door like that, and you don't have access to the drugs. They can still go to a pharmacy, put a face mask on, go over to CVS, fill the, right, get enough of the stuff, and then just commit suicide in one of the rooms. I don't see closing a Walmart's going to prevent that. You're not going to stop people from getting out of here. That's your concern because clearly something did happen in New York, and I think it was mass suicides because people have just had enough. And you don't really understand it, and just eventually a body gives out when it's been on drugs so long. A body gives out, you can't resuscitate it. Right, you can't resuscitate a body that has been destroyed by drug use over 12 years. You're losing all your prisoners. The majority of them are on drugs. I'm a great rarity when it comes to the people that you've decimated since 2008. It doesn't go on forever. I tried to explain that to people. Right. You're not always gonna. That's the other thing too. Is they started telling people in Quincy that Father Bill's is always going to be open and there's always going to be a homeless shelter. Now he's saying the same thing. That's not true. That's not what's going on. Right. God will pass on all of the human beings away out of New England, and that'll be the end of it. We'll just be reborn in another land piece where you can't do this to us. Right. And then the rest of your extinction will go on. As you can see, you can't shut it down. You're not mentally able to do it. You're not mentally able to do it. And you can't shut off your gasoline because none of you walk. You're actually murdering me because I walk and you can't walk. So you're murdering me like that's going to stop it. It's not going to stop it. That's what I'm saying. You can't stop the pollution that's actually killing you off because you cannot walk. There's something wrong with you people mentally that you will not walk anywhere. It's just some wicked, weird mental insanity that you will not walk anywhere. So you're actually murdering human beings because we walk. It is that. Okay, so, anyways, I'm really not upset about it. There's not going to be any more funnies, and all of that's over. It's the end of your Holocaust. All of that was done to try to help all the human beings through the Holocaust, or as you call us, Jews, to help all the human beings through the Holocaust. That's all that was. I know that you kept thinking that you were a part of it and we're friends, and none of that is true. None of that is true. We were never friends, okay? Friends don't take other people's children and lock them in a dungeon and they cut off their health insurance and cut off their food. Right. Friends don't do that, okay? You were told any lie that kept the food going during the Holocaust, which is now coming to an end. There's not a need for that when all of the people who were on just the SNAP with no incomes are passing on. Right, and the people that didn't have even that were getting somewhat fed in the shelter. Right. There's no I don't need to keep doing that. It's over. Though all of those people are passing on, we don't need that service anymore. That's what I'm explaining to you. There's not a need of you, like I said, you were told any lie, and some of it are lies you made up in your own heads, but you were told any lie to keep food flowing. Right, because we saw how horrible it got in Germany. Right. So I would assume passing on from long-term drug use and Hep C and HIV that people might have picked up because of drug use is a lot more pleasant than starvation, just like the typhus was more pleasant than starvation. There's no way you can possibly be forgiven, okay, and you can't change, right? You People that actually had a previous, like George Bush and George Bush Jr., okay, you had a revelation about that, okay? And then over the course of 9.5 years, it's been revealed to you why you have to be extincted, okay? You went in your minds that you had a previous, and then you made up, I didn't tell you this, you made up in your minds that it was going to keep going on and on forever, and there's no morality, and none of that matters, and the book doesn't matter, and Exodus 20 doesn't matter, and you can do whatever you want. You made that up. You made that up. It's just a way that God explains to you your extinction, okay? Because human beings are always going to cycle like that. It's part of my species, which is not your species, okay? You're like a bridge species from, apparently, apes, from the best we can tell, to my species. And now my species has already existed. We don't have as many people as your species did. Your species overbred compared to what human beings do, okay? Because mentally you can't reason to stop breeding is one of the reasons. And it has to do with your uh, fear of death, and you do it to sort of spread your gene around and stuff, and that's not why human beings have children. But um, like I said in the previous video, you seem to think because there was a lot of you that meant that your species was going to survive. There was no way all of you could die off when there's only, what 12 million human beings on the whole planet. But that is what it is. There used to be millions upon millions of dinosaurs, and there's not a dinosaur here today. Okay? Right. So, I would sort of, in terms of your final thoughts or whatever, that just imagine that you're going to be apes. Okay? Because you're clearly not human beings. Right? And you don't want to be. You don't want to be. Okay? And you cannot, no matter what happens, you can't control your urge to murder human beings. Right. So that you know that species, your species, can't exist. Because Almighty God, the Creator, gave us a book, and we already know the meek shall inherit the earth, that human beings will exist upon this earth. Okay? It's just like the people were told when they came on the ships and invaded here, and they were told to leave, that they wouldn't be allowed to remain here. Okay? And you're not. Right? You're not. You left your area. You left your area. Okay. You're not allowed on this land piece. It's actually my land, the human being. For me and my offspring. Okay? And then you still wouldn't leave, and you got worse and worse what you've done to me. So now you have to be extincted to get you off of my land and back over to Africa where you belong. You weren't supposed to take a trip to Africa, George Bush. Okay, so I'm explaining to you what you must have been told. And because of your grandiosity and your refusal to seek out human beings and elders to ask what's going on, you weren't supposed to go and take a trip to Africa. You're being sent back over there because you left your area. You're not human beings. Okay? And because you won't stop doing it, you have to go back into the ape physical bodies over there where you don't walk and you sit in a clan and you don't leave your area because you're afraid of viruses and you don't like the sunlight. All of that. Not you come to my area land and take it over like you've done and slaughter me and all of my offspring. Okay? So, in terms of asking for more chances and you're going to somehow become human, you never did it. You never did it, and as you can see, your offspring are just as deranged. Just like your father was. Okay? And it's indicative to all of you. Okay? So, anyways, before that, to get the end of the suffering, that your species can never do. You couldn't even just free me, never mind everybody, all the humans, okay? which you obviously were printed enough money to do. It wasn't even a matter of that. It was like some sickening thing where you just purposely were giving it housing to other people because you like to torment human beings. That's the other problem, right? You won't stop encroaching on human beings' area. You like to torment human beings. You like to murder them, right? You won't stop trying to crossbreed with human beings. You get mad because we won't marry you, okay? And we won't sit and listen to language we don't even understand because we're not apes. And we won't be retaught how to be apes, all of that. That's all ape behavior. And that forms societies and have a government and all this weird stuff. It's very weird to a human being. So, um, right. Anything that I convey to you that's my father. Okay, so take it up with him if you thought that I was lying to you. And there's a book, okay, and there's basic logic as to what makes sense, even science, even evolutionary science. What you people are doing and thinking can't possibly be real or make any sense. But what I say makes perfect sense, okay? So the only way I understand that, I understand that. What you guys, what your thought process are now that you think makes sense still, and I don't know. I'm supposed to just put a face mask on. That's not your intent. Okay? I explained it all. Again, it's not your intent. You're making up excuses. You're like a weird, murderous population that needs excuses. The human beings are all going to pass on. There won't be a human being in this area, okay, where the majority of us are, right? That's the people that you have trapped like this, that you keep torturing, are in this area, right? So we're going to pass on, and you won't have any more prisoners. That doesn't mean you won't have workers, right? Because you have plenty of people willing to work. They'll even put their face masks on and work, okay? You don't have to worry about walking. They don't walk either. They drive, okay? It's sort of like they're like a lesser, insane, murderous part of your um, species, right? I don't know if the ones doing this are like the dominant apes, and these people are like your drone people that you neutered, and that's why they're a little bit nicer. Um, right, because they don't have this weird, what's insane to a human being, constant trying to dominate people and force them to do things. So, the Great Depression, right, that's, again, you're being told what I told you, but you still twist it around because you don't want to hear it. After all of your prisoners have passed on, you'll get depressed, right? Um, I really think that you'll need to try to focus more on your regular world system and your shopping and working and driving around and taking trips, and try to forget all of this ever happened for the rest of your extinction, because it will make you unhappy and it will drive you mad. There can't be another answer, and you really shouldn't be that worried about dying. Okay? You really shouldn't. You just go to sleep. There's no hell. All right? So I freed you from that worry. There's no hell. And then you did whatever you wanted for 12 years. Okay? So all you do is close your eyes and sleep, and it's over. Like, you just go to sleep and don't wake up. So really, please, with the frenzied worry, it's like an ego. Try to keep telling yourselves that. It's not really you're afraid to just go to sleep. You just, you have such an ego that you can't believe you're actually going to die, right? Even in your species, not to upset you, but even in your species, it appears that you die every time, okay? And I'm going to explain why and why that works in your species, okay? You want to, when you're an ape, you can't believe in evolution and elders and things. It's something about your ape primate species. So you could be like another ape that already existed, but you can't remember that. It's something about your species. Okay. And then you think every thought, like you're saying a Buddha does, you think a thought is new and that you thought of it. Like you don't have an open communication with Almighty God like a human being does. Some might call that higher thought. Primates don't appear to have that, judging by the observations of your species for 9.5 years. Okay. And it makes sense to me from what I know about primates, which is limited. Um, it's right. He got a little bit more into this the other day, that I think it has something to do with your behavior now. Okay, that's why. Um, oh, this part of it. That's right. The ones of you that were surprised that Lucille Ball died when she was 77, and these people that don't understand why people die at 80. Okay, that's sort of like a primate thinking, which makes sense. Okay, because see how frenzied and mean and trying to murder other people because you're getting old and you don't look good, like how Nancy is and stuff, and the stuff you've done to me. And I'm almost 50. I'm not even a young person, and you're doing this to me. Right? If an ape ever thought that they were gonna die, they'd get like that, and you can't have that in an ape clan. So there has to be some sort of a thing where they never think they're gonna die, and then one day they just lay down and die. Okay. And then I also explained the other thing where maybe it has something to do with the way that your species operates as it's supposed to be in a primate body, and not with this mixed brain that's making you all very unhappy and um, sick and sad and feeling bad about yourselves. Okay? Um, right. Think of it like there was a forced breeding that shouldn't have happened. Think of it like that. Right, like how George Bush was so mentally insane, and then now everyone in his family has that mental illness and they're all unhappy. Think of it like that. So now that's not going to exist anymore. Okay? And you're going to go back into the regular primate bodies, and that's how you want to be, and you're happy in those brains. Right? Sometimes it's difficult to understand when you don't have that brain yet that you'll be happy in that. So I point out to you how unhappy you are now. And hopefully that brings more of a calming and an understanding about going back to where you belong in Africa, okay, off of my land. Um, in order for that species, sort of the way that it operates in its esteem, because it's probably got to be, even though you think, Joe, this is hard, to me that's going to be a little bit harder being innate, but there's more physical strength or something. I don't know. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm a human being. I don't want to do ape stuff. But I know you guys want to do ape stuff. I can tell by just your way of thinking and the way you act that you want to do ape stuff. So, um, right, that's going to be physically challenging. So maybe in order to have that, some of these belief systems that are sick and demented as a human being make sense in an ape kingdom, right? Which doesn't mean that that's going to die off. That's not really dying, but you're not going to be human beings. Maybe ask that question. Because we have a book that says what human beings are, and you're not that. Okay? Because we Exodus 20, right at the given time, the appointed time. Okay. Um, with we, like Laura, it's good to have anger because it gets stuff done. Like maybe that's how apes think. Okay. That they need that they actually need that, and their biological systems run on that, and they don't get stressed out like with the cortisol and the PTSD and the shaking and the cowering, and then you guys not understanding why we're like that, why we can't tolerate yelling and stuff, things that we think are abusive because we're the meek. Okay. Um, right. That in that kingdom, that all makes sense, and you can have your wars and all of that because in your kingdom, it's right. Maybe you guys do things, then you go and fall over like apes do, and then you get back up again and keep doing that, and that's fun to an ape, but it's not to a human being. Okay. So I personally can't take it anymore because you keep doing it to me and you've been doing it for 9.5 years. So I'm going to allow you to actually murder me by withholding my medication and not letting me leave the house to even get my diet foods or anything. I'm going to allow you to do it. Okay? Um, right. I think that's what you've been doing with all of these people with the Narcan and stuff because of your morbid insanity. Right. Um, well, had you listened in 2011, then all of that could have been explained so that when you started doing weird behaviors, you could be reminded of it. Right. Like you reminded that there was a nuclear accident and the prions from the pork and the mercury injections, and that remember when you were told that you have a mental illness and that it's progressive, right? And that these are certain behaviors that you might start doing, and that you have people that you trust that will explain it to you, and right, these are those behaviors, and da da da, and right. None of you people did that, so now it's really, really bad, right? And it's just you keep saying other people are sick, and you're going into some of you are going into really bad paranoia, like the thing with the virus. That's paranoia, okay? Um, I think that you'll be able to take care of each other after all the human beings are gone. Yes, all the able-bodied people that walk around. I know, because you feel bad about it. I know all about it. I've been told. I think you'll be able to take care of each other because it's not really going to be any different than it was before 2011 in terms of that, like physical demands. You still have your fuel, you still have workers, you have all the machinery, right? You don't have to worry about any of that. Like I said, you're murdering us for no reason. It's not needed. Just that you could not stop paying attention to what we were doing, right? You would not stop viewing the page of the exercise. You wouldn't stop seeing us walking, right? You wouldn't stop looking at the videos. You wouldn't stop checking out my ass, right? So you have to murder me. I understand that, right? You couldn't just be happy with yourselves and accept all of that. I know.